Gale Force is one game away from being able to take the 2nd seed in our standings, meaning they will only have to play one series to determine if they can go to the mid-season brawl. And they want to just keep that ball rolling. But it hasn't always been it's a bumpy road that the ball is rolling on, right? Like sometimes it jumps over here and they have to be like, no, let's go back over here, especially after game 1.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's a ball they don't really have much control over. You know, I can't tell who's along for the ride, really. Is it them? Is it the ball itself? It's gotten out of control here in this series for Freedom. And for game number 3, what could be match point, Gale Force is going to be taking us to Cursed Hollow.
Cursed Hollow is a battleground where we see some Illidan play from Gale Force, some Abathur, Greymane too. And versus Tempo Storm, they did like to play their mass global effect, but things didn't work out for them to plan, especially when they needed to fight. They just didn't.
Yeah, that was a really strange game out of them on Cursed Hollow. The fact that they hit a debatably game-losing / winning curse, and they didn't even attempt to stab towards that tribute, not even questioning if they wanted to move in that direction. So I would say that is a prime example of showing Gale Force maybe not having the necessary decision-making on Cursed Hollow, something that Freedom might look to punish.
Have we seen much Freedom on Cursed Hollow since we've started 2.0? I'm trying to check here. There has been one, also preferring having Greymane, Zeratul, Falstad, so global contention again between these teams.
I've got a theory that Gale Force eSports is either going to ban or definitely not pick Greymane in this game. And a lot of that has to do with the Zagara ban of the last game. When we were discussing whether or not Gale Force, how much do they show, I feel like half of their strategy for not showing is not even leaving it as like a question, they just ban out against themselves to some extent, right? Like things that they know are good on the map, for instance, but something that they don't even want to show where they view it in value overall. They want to leave that as kind of hidden, and ways you do that is take high contested heroes and just not even let them be an option. Where do you think, for instance, like a Greymane would fall? Just not even give it to Freedom.
Right, being willing to ban Zagara seemed like such a statement to make versus Freedom, where they have played Zagara every single Braxis holdout game so far in part 2, and then casually ban, just a casual ban. We're not even, we don't need this. You don't know if this is what we need. It was a cool statement to make.
It was very much a cool statement to see come out from them. Malfurion was the first pick of Team Freedom, and we still have a lot of globals on the table. My first thought for Gale Force is going to be that they're going to pull back to that global game, that they'll stick more to that macro play, one that we know to come out of them from time to time. Cursed Hollow is a map that you can get away with it, but again, it's sticking to their stereotypes, and that's all they need to do, is fill the role that they expect the projected playoffs team to have for them, and that is going to be through an Abathur Greymane. So they aren't going to commit as hard as I was hoping to see, you know, just ridding of that. They're going to stick with their Abathur and with their Greymane.
Well, objectively, this is such a strong duo to have. Abathur Greymane, and it's available.
Yeah.
That might raise more suspicions if they didn't pick it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
That's a good point.
It's such a strong duo that everyone knows that if they get the chance, they're probably going to take it, even if they were trying to mess with the minds of Team A and the other teams looking at them for playoffs.
And another thing I didn't consider before throwing out, you know, conspiracy theories is the fact that you know, Greymane, Abathur, Zagara were the first 3 heroes they had picked in their last Cursed Hollow game. So not only is it objectively a very powerful strategy, but the fact that they've already shown they have interest towards that type of composition allows them to pick up a strong comp with, again, not showing anything. So where do they move in terms of the bans? I've often talked about what I want to see Freedom ban whenever you're against the style of composition, that being material. But for Gale Force,
do you
on the back
want
line.
a Tyrael ban?
Yes, I do, in fact, want a Tyrael ban.
Even though Gale Force eSports almost exclusively plays Judgment?
I have faith that they learn how to hit Control 2 and not how to hit Control 1.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. He is not even going to be an option. Tyrael's removed from this draft phase. Gale Force here What else do they want? Last time we saw them go with these two, they had the Zag, but then a Muradin and a Brightwing. A Muradin and a Brightwing.
Brightwing might still be a possibility, but Muradin is gone. AFK, actually, he's still around a keyboard. He'll be played by Zagrug. And without Tyrael, that does limit the pool of Equinox a little bit. Has played some Arthas, but we've gone away from that. But with Abathur, maybe still a possibility.
That's what I was going to say, is that, you know, Arthas is still looking good in this composition. You would want him with typically another beefy kind of melee and a backline to help. And they might not have that much breathing room in their draft to be able to get away with that, but they do have some powerful picks still remaining. Where does Gale Force want to go? Diablo and Genji.
That's showing some things.
Sure is. Why Diablo? Of all the warriors to go in and be like, you know what? I'm gonna mess things up. I'm gonna start this fight. Diablo isn't necessarily the best to complement that of a Genji. That's a curious one. Honestly, I don't even have an answer for it. Not even a theory. Normally I can make an argument, but I don't see it right now.
We've been seeing a little bit of Diablo here and there, and mainly that is on Infernal Shrines. Not so much here.
Yeah, on Curse Hollow. And the weirdest thing about it is not only is it a weird Diablo map, it's the more to me, it seems stranger the fact that that was with the Genji, right? It's just one of the last heroes I can think of like wanting directly with a Genji. In terms of warriors, to accent him.
I think this will be Uther.
Yeah, it very much should be. It is an insane power pick. I don't think it could be much else. They go with the Uther. But again, that Diablo. Matching the Genji to provide that secondary threat. Uther, or Genji, is a different hero when he has Uther on his team. I think he is far more viable an option whenever you do pick up a Genji. But it's more... I don't know. I don't know where the Diablo comes from. Just again, you always want a secondary threat. We saw how quickly in the last game. I think that's the easiest example to look to. If you just experienced last game, how many times did Genji just get blown up? Nobody was up there to be scary with him. Nobody was out there doing damage with him. Nobody was there to keep him alive, and he is very easy to be able to respond with. And when you have, granted, limited amount of warriors to pull from, I just didn't think that would be the direction. Tyrael's probably most optimal. Muradin's the second most optimal, also gone from you, but it's a weird map when Arthas is still up. You know, nobody maybe could fill that role necessarily, but it's a weird map, and it doesn't fit in the Genji. In both fronts, it's out of place for Gale Force.
My first immediate thought is maybe Apocalypse to lock people down, and once Diablo builds up his souls, then he sort of can dive into the backline and be a threat and allow Genji maybe to be able to do his own thing, especially with Divine Shield. But this definitely seems like it will be more of Greymane being a backliner, maybe even going so far as to get Cursed Bullet, since there are 2 warriors for Team Freedom. We're ready for Game 3. Can Team Freedom get the win here and keep their lives in this series alive? We'll find out.
Hashtag how to throw 101. Giving you lessons here is going to be Gillyweed.
Keep their lives alive.
On the mic here.
That's generally how you want to keep your lives.
Yeah, I like my lives alive.
Me too.
As well. Small change there coming out from the Abathur on his level 1. The fact that we see moving to that, not into Locust, is what we've seen most of the time in Part 2, since Abathur is risen in HGC North America.
And Pressurized Glance gives more range to Spike Burst. It also reduces the cooldown, so lending to maybe more things like Soma Transference at 13 to help with the supporting, given the fact that Uther is cooldown dependent. Also maybe even at 16 to limit really enable the chase by slowing down opponents that are hit by those Envenom spikes.
Already a small adjustment that we've seen out of at least North American Genjis is the fact that at level 1 we're going Pathfinder, jumping over terrain with his passive. In fact, is going to give him 25% movement speed for 6 seconds. What that allows you to do, especially if you move into the secondary charge, is pretty much fly across the map. Your mobility is not only that much better, but actual literal mobility across the map. Your rotational mobility is accented with this build.
When I was looking at this talent, I specifically was wondering if we would see it here on Cursed Hollow. It's a very big battleground, so that kind of mobility is amazing. And then to add to that, there are a lot of places and walls to jump over on Cursed Hollow, and you can just be like, surprise, surprise Genji. Hello, how are you guys doing today? Oh, you're dead. I'm sorry about that.
What that does do for Genji, though, is makes him that much more of a one-trick pony when it comes to his heroics and approaches to fights when looking at Gale Force's composition. Based on the fact that he doesn't have the mobility directly after his initiation there, in moving in with his E, and then it makes it to where I'm expecting a Dragon's Blade here that we have an Uther, so he can dive into the backline, get as much damage out, but there's no skirmishing with that mobility to ensure you got your own reset anymore. It just makes you ult to get that secondary reset, then walk away after the D shield is wasted, whereas, again, traditionally with the other level 1 that we see, that mobility really helps with follow-up shurikens, with making sure you get the auto attacks to get your damage done, and positioning properly for your protection.
Meanwhile, I thought that we would have more of a ranged focus Greymane, but in fact, he is building still into more of the Worgen build that we traditionally see, having Wolfheart for the increased cooldown of Inner Beast, Eyes in the Dark for disengage. Zugbrug is going to be fine here, and this early game has been a strange one so far.
Yeah, the laning matchups here has been really mirrored of one another, but Freedom is just opening up the map. Insomnia is causing problems up on bottom lane to the Abathur. This is what we normally see with Abathur early games, but not this way and not to this extreme, right? The fact that not only we're missing 2 forts for both sides, accelerating the rate at which level 10 is going to be picked up. Normally 10 doesn't hit until that 3rd tribute. Now it's going to be hit right after the 2nd one. That is just
moving back. Do we see Dahaka brush talk in, or do they give up this tribute and just poke so that Dahaka can slow soak and eventually Team Freedom are hoping take that mid fort?
Definitely would like to see him rotate as long as once the fight even gets close to starting, which is going to be right now. Just based on the fact that that fort is going to die. You should view that as already obtained experience, right? Unless you need it for a power spike like 10, which you don't in this area, or at least not in this point in time, not worth the force. They get the fort and they get the tribute. It's a double win here for Team Freedom.
Gale Force eSports starting to eke ahead in experience, but it is a small amount, just trying to get level 7. Although Pressurized Glands was grabbed at 1, no Adrenal Overload. Still focusing on getting the Toxic Nest talents at 4 and 7. So have the increased slow from that. And more of the nest to be able to give vision just like this over the boss.
Yeah, the vision of the boss, Gale Force, has moved outward to try and deny a bit. The scouting drone may reveal Fan, but he's just worried about the boss itself. Night Camp is going to be pressuring out through mid for Freedom here on the secondary tribute. That's going to be spawning top. This early game, I feel like somebody's got an advantage more because of their composition and the way the map is played, but I can't figure out who yet.
Yeah, Abathur would love that those are down. Vault goes through though. Abathur loves that forts are down because he can try to put more pressure on keeps. Both have a fort down in a boss lane.
I think it benefits Gale Force just because of the Abathur the most, honestly. Giving him that free area to kind of mess around with. This tribute's going to be channeled by Collusion, and Equinox throws out the Flame Stomp. Fan actually going in for that drop in the Protect. The flip over the wall, there's going to be the self-shield coming out from Dansky. He's fine for now. Abathur still soaking, but there's Insomnia. Does he get a drag? Crowing gets the dodge. Eyes in the Dark up soon, and there's going to be a channel for Collusion.
Zugbrug took a lot of damage. Fan trying to go in and get his reset. The tribute was picked up by Collusion in time. Gale Force eSports hoping that they could at least maybe have gotten a kill because of how long Freedom stuck around, but that is not the case. So the next tribute is Cursed Point for Freedom.
It is going to be Cursed Point here. I'm trying to really think about the way that this game is kind of unfolded so far here, and what can Freedom do? Because my biggest fear here is what we've experienced not only in the games 1 and 2 of them getting ahead and then getting kind of pounced on, but this is also compositionally different than games 1 and 2, considering Cursed and what Gale Force has. They have a very good win harder composition and can snowball the map and be very oppressive whenever they get a lead. And I'm trying to figure out if there is something on the side of Freedom that they can do to avoid.
Oh my. So Zugrug went and stole the vision away from Gale Force eSports. Fan has now showed up, but the nest showed that Team Freedom were here. It's way too far down for Freedom to go away now. Equinox shadow charges onto the point. This is going to be the fight. There's no heroic abilities. Gale Force allows the boss to be taken by Freedom. Thankfully for Freedom, Gale Force wasn't closer to Tim. This is time for Abathur to be able to soak, but everyone makes it out.
Everyone did manage to make it out, surprisingly enough. And that is a good sign for Gale Force as they lock in their first tribute of this game. They're rounding out towards 10. Crone getting stunned out in mid, follow-up Roots. I don't know if he's going to make it out here. A lot of healing coming out from Aka, not even needing the D-Shield. Beautiful disengage in Gale Force and Freedom. Back out. But Freedom got not only Giants pressuring top, they've got the boss pushing out on bottom. They're really sticking it to Gale Force here, even in game number 3.
Yeah, they pulled so many resources to come up and make sure that Crowan stayed alive, and they stopped Crowan from being the defense versus the boss, that they got a lot more from that now. Giants being cleared out. Freedom knows that Gale Force was going to look to clear this, so hoping maybe they could get a pick while pushing along with those Giants. Here are the heroic abilities. Rain of Vengeance instead of Strafe. It is the Dragon Blade you mentioned for Genji, and Apocalypse for Diablo.
The Dragon Blade plus Uther's Divine Shield. This is the version of Genji that I expected to see if we saw him in North America. Just having that Divine Shield, it makes him, I mean, if you couldn't tell by my tone yet, me and Gilly have had a lot of conversations of where Genji falls. Overall, right now, I'm not sold. I'm not on the hype train of Genji in a lot of ways, but I have a lot easier time supporting him if I see two things, either a Tyrael or an Uther.
Yeah, you have an easier time supporting him if they are doing a good job of supporting him. And Divine Shield does do that with Dragon Blade. Here we go. Apocalypse, Collusion in trouble. He's going to go down without a doubt.
Oh!
But how he does it, that Twilight Dream, he's still alive. Fan is about to go down. Equinox is out. Aka face down. At least he can heal and got the Divine Shield out in time. Clone is out of here. Malfurion finally taken out. But at what cost?
Just wrecked Gale Force with that Twilight. That was exactly what I was talking about, man. But let's just take another look. Look at this thing. I've never seen, look at the momentum just die.
Boom.
And everyone's just like, how do we get kills? How do we get kills? Nothing's dying. All right, we lost the fight. My goodness. And that was a bit when we were talking about the burst of Gale Force eSports by having the Diablo, how overextended he maybe has to go in to try and force those team fights. And a quick rebuttal from the Twilight Dream. But a curse has been achieved now for Team Freedom.
The expulsion zone was also excellent in that, to try to make sure that Collusion could stay alive as long as he could. And I'd love to talk about Dansky Zarya. I didn't quite get to in the draft, but he is currently 5-0 and has never died on Zarya in HGC yet.
Flexing on him. There's going to be a stun into the wall, follow-up rebuttal. Good root follow-up. Fan goes in a bit deep. There's going to be his dash over the wall. Keep in mind, and only having one of those, minus a Swift Strike. Dahaka has been conveniently absorbing that bottom keep.
This was so well done by Team Freedom. They're ahead in experience. They're feeling good despite being down 2 games in this series, showing Gale Force what they can do in Heroes of the Storm, how much they've improved as a team, a new team with a lot of new members in the professional hero scene.
The early D-Shield, very early D-Shield and dive under the backline is going to be Fan. The boss falling pretty low. Dansky eating a bit of damage, dropping an early repulsion zone. APOC ends up landing. Go for the throw is going to be real. Twilight Dream ends up landing, hitting onto 3, and now Gale Force ends up falling once more, but at the cost of 2 members of Freedom.
Zugrug dives over, catches Fan. Nope, he jumps over the terrain, and with that increased movement speed, mounts up, gets away. Equinox running back to help defend with Abathur and Genji. Again, Collusion with the plays. Ice block to stop Apocalypse so he can Twilight Dream out of it.
He's stepping up for his team. Dansky took a bit of damage there. Fan not necessarily having the burst on his own, especially with the build he's taken there. Traditionally with the single target Shuriken at 13, you can secure some of those isolated individuals, or the 2v2 skirmishes become a lot easier because you can falsely position yourself right next to them, hit all 3 Shurikens, get that bonus damage. But a different build from Fan, and so far even with the Uther, not looking too hot. But a lot of that's coming down to, you know, just, let's be honest, collusion. I wanted to say Team Freedom, but it's just collusion, really. It really is.
Collusion is, he has been, I swear, every time, every Malfurion game we get from him is just more and more awesome of plays from Collusion. And Team Freedom using that to their advantage. They've had a curse. They have taken out a keep in the bottom. They are well on their way to 16 ahead of Gale Force eSports. And Gale Force only has one tribute, so it's not even like they could hope to sneak the next tribute and get a curse.
All windows seem to be closing. At least, you know, we're sending them halfway. Boss check here from Freedom. Tense moment here over the bottom boss of whether or not it started. Who's gonna start it? Freedom. Gale Force sniffs it.
Freedom will hang around all day. They have to Haka to limit the Abathur. And with that keep down, Gale Force can't really afford to leave this either. And Freedom knows it.
Oh, this is a risky.
Oh no, that
There's
route.
no world.
I don't like that route.
Even beyond that route, there's no world where Freedom needs this boss. They've already got to keep into Haka's split pushing.
Yeah, they're just trying to keep Gale Force here. They keep stepping back. They're trying to keep them here.
They are trying to keep them there, and they're keeping them effectively busy, really, on the map. Genji skirted his way over to steal this tribute, thanks to his high mobility. It's just, Freedom is out macroing Gale Force eSports, which I feel like I almost need to say again to believe it, but they are.
Why don't you do it? Go ahead.
It's that Freedom is out macroing Gale Force, but they have only gotten one keep, and it feels like they're hitting a moment where they realize they want to macro, but they aren't absolutely sure what they need to do. Catch out onto Zugrug. There's going to be the first flip. He goes back in, throws down the Thunderclap.
16, expulsion zone. Crowin in a terrible place as he's blown up. Once again, from the Twilight Dream, Clone went down too. Equinox in trouble. No way to dive yourself out of this one. He will respawn in a few seconds. But this gives time for Team Freedom to get that boss. They've been hanging around for so long.
Team Freedom very comfortable to back out and take this. No one to contest in not a minute and a half up until Gale Force's boss is going to spawn. So what do we see? A unwinnable game when it comes to the boss with this push on bottom. It takes fights. It takes forcing fights. There's no way Gale Force can stop this. They don't even have APOC.
No, especially with all the shielding.
They're going to go in.
Healing. Divine Shield, Dragon Blade. He's just looking for kills now. Nasmus might be that kill they need. Nasmus goes down. Dansky flipped.
He got the first pick, and that might be enough to snowball. Fam might just turn up here in this fight if they can get somebody low. Dansky falls, but Equinox a little bit too low there. Man, if Dansky had not had popped that shield, that would have been a dead Collusion, a dead Dansky. But surviving there allows Gale Force to back out, get rid of the boss. A tribute going over to Freedom.
Top boss up in less than a minute.
That's it. That's going to be a tense one there, because what that will do is it's timed with the third curse, which is going to be a Gale Force curse. So now it's one of two situations. It's a game-losing play if Gale Force can not only win a fight, pick up the boss and the tribute through top, if the tribute spawns up on top, but if it spawns on bottom, Team Freedom is in a tough spot, because then again, they have to forfeit either a boss or a tribute. Warning, tribute's worth more than the boss this early on, especially on the side of Gale Force.
Here's where a fan can turn up like you were hoping for, because he got Steady Blade at 16. That increases the damage of the next Swift Strike with how many heroes that you hit. And you can stack that up to 3 times, 20% each. So if there is a possibility of Freedom grouping in positions over bosses, like we've seen before, trying to group up and get Collusion into Twilight Dream, then the next one might just be able to get those kills right away. But so far, it's been hard to bust through all of the shielding and the healing and the tankiness, the sheer tankiness of Freedom.
What do you think Gale Force is feeling right now? What are they thinking right now? Because they're obviously trying to stall out the game, but my thought process is for what? You know what I mean? Is there a 20 spike that stands out? There is, you know, you've got the Hive Mind. Genji's pretty neat with his 20 options. Greymaine's okay, Diablo's above average, but nobody stands out crazily. And Team Freedom matches them in the same department. Effective 20s. But Gale Force here is very comfortable giving up. Like the fact that they gave up that last tribute on what could have been, I told you, like the boss curse game-winning play. They gave up all those options purely to clear and soak.
If I were looking at where the talent tier, the power spike might come in, I would say it would have been 16 because they have Executioner to pair and combo with Uther and Diablo. There's a lot of stuns possible there, especially if they land the right Apocalypse. There's slows from Abathur too. So I would have guessed it was the 16, and we may see them, we should see them. They are starting to funnel down. So yeah, they're looking to take this fight.
But see, Gale Force just gave up a curse where they weren't risking. I'll talk about it later. This is insane. Either way, Team Freedom delaying for now. Good zone and route coming out from Collusion there.
Tahaka with a safe burrow. There's Collusion, gets stunned before he can drop Twilight Dream. This is the difference that Gale Force eSports needs with that double Greymane. Also, Fan just dropping everybody from Freedom like flies with the Divine Shield Dragon Blade combo. Gale Force eSports will get their first curse.
And quickly, not even just backing up. They want it in the game. They're going to sidewall and go. This is it. They don't want to win. Oh, never mind. Abathur's getting that. Don't mind me. They're good. Either way, they sidewall here. They're going for the keep. They're still going for the game. Abathur's just getting this tribute. Can they end?
Freedom will have Twilight Dream out of this as long as he can land it.
They have to kill Fan. There is no Divine Shield. So Fan's got to go down, or Crone, one of the damage dealers, but it's not game, at least not yet. I don't think so.
They're going fully on to Crone. There's no Divine Shield to keep him alive. Shield's just now falling.
APOC going to be used. Zugrug door toss is out, 75%. There's going to be one kill. Collusion is now here to join 35.
He has the root first, stepping in. Twilight Dream.
That's game. That is going to be it. Gale Force eSports, in fact, is going to be able to take this series 3-0 over Team Freedom. Clean, but maybe not as much as I know I wanted, and definitely probably Gale Force had in that series. You know, they won every game. They sure did. They got the win, but maybe, you know, not as precise, not as dominant every game. The fact that most of those games came down to a losing the early game, winning one, like almost B-step-esque. You know, I don't think they feel comfortable after that.
It's weird how clean whoever was in control had it, continued to be in control until someone dominantly stepped in and won a team fight and would wrest that away. But throughout the games, whoever was in control, it looked just so clean and so clean. And then either one team fight would happen and all of a sudden Freedom grabbed that control up until Cores. Up until Cores!
Well, Cores with bosses. You know, you got to keep that in mind. They get baited by the boss, you know? It's just, they aren't the only ones. Honestly, a lot of, just in general, the boss, number one, is named a boss, all right? Number two, he does crazy cool things, and he takes a lot of people to take down. So when you take him, you think he's going to be tough, like, you know, the king of Tough Town, and he sure is not. You know, minions actually are the secret heroes of Heroes of the Storm. Nobody really knows it, but their damage output is what's needed. So if you guys are playing at home and you want to end the game, if you don't have minions behind you, probably can't do it unless it's 20 minutes.
If he sort of tricks you like that, would you say more he's like the Joker of Tough Town?
Yeah, he's kind of, he's the one, he's a poser of it, you know? He's trying to step in, he's trying to be the tough one, and then quickly the real guys, the minions just walk by, be like, get out of the way, kid.
Well, let's check in with someone who not only has just won a series,
I
but
heard he got a haircut.
Had a haircut. Looking good, Crowan. Congratulations. How are you guys feeling about that series? Because it did seem like there were moments where Team Freedom could bring it back and even take games from you guys.
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much. You had to get a haircut. But yeah, the series wasn't as convincing as I think we were expecting. Team Freedom played well. It showed in their prep work. Say, like, we banned the Zagara, thought they might have gone that. So, I don't know, they did their prep and it showed, but I think we still got the advantage in times where they misstepped, and that's why we won.
Well, talk to us about the Diablo. What was the mindset beyond that pick?
Well, Diablo is actually like really good in that composition that we just ran with the diving into the opponent's team and just like securing kills really fast in fast fights.
It makes sense. Dred, do you have any questions?
Just a lot of what I had to ask was about Genji. You know, where does he end up falling? Because we've seen Genji played. I don't think we've ever had a hero who was just available and seen in every region so far. So just from your guys' thought, you know, what is your initial feelings onto the Genji? Where does he fall? What do you guys think?
I think Genji is a very strong hero just in the impact that he can have. Genji has a lot of burst damage, he can poke, he's very mobile, and he fits into a lot of compositions right now in this current meta, and that's why I think he's being played in a lot of regions and having a lot of success.
All right, thank you.
Well, last question from me before I let you give shout-outs. Let's talk playoffs. You guys are for sure now in second place, so you guys will only have to play the single match at the end of playoffs. Who do you think you're going to play, and what do you believe you need to do to ensure that you'll be going to the mid-season brawl?
I think it's likely that we will be playing teammate. Not 100% sure because anything could happen, but prep that we'll be looking to do to then is just same of what we've been doing, just sort of improving on the mistakes that we notice. Like we're going to go over everything, try to research as much as we can about the teams. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just keep prepping, keep working hard, and hopefully we'll be able to make it.
Great. Well, congratulations, Crowan, on you guys' victory 3-0. Good luck in playoffs next weekend, and shout-outs before we let you go.
Yeah, of course. So first off, shout-outs to Courtney. She helps us out with a lot of prep and analyst stuff, so she's a really, really big help. Shout-outs to all my team. I'm going to be streaming later today at twitch.tv/Crowan, fan streams at twitch.tv/SC2FanTV. Michael at Michael Udall, Equinox Hots, and Akaface. Give him the Twitter follow at Akaface Hots. And also shoutouts to our sponsors. Thank you, Gale Force, Twitch, Gunners. Got some Gunners on right now. I recommend them. NVIDIA and MetaThreads, who makes our jerseys. So thank you very much. And also, if you guys didn't know, I'm donating my hair, actually, the hair that I shaved. So I really recommend, if you have a lot of hair and you're looking to cut it, I recommend donating it. So yeah, much love. Thank you everybody for the support. As always, much love.
Much love to you too, Crowan. See you later.
Bye.
Man, that's pretty cool.